What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Cowboys podcast. Oh, we got a little feedback. All right, so yeah, man. You see the title of the show. You know what's going on. It says we can't buy a break, and as you know, that's a little play on words, a little double entendre for you. You know, for the bye week coming up, which boy, it couldn't come. No, shit, we might lose to the bye week. Actually, man, we need to stop.
I'd put money on the bye week. Bye week giving 5 points.
Bruh. And honestly, and this will kind of segue perfectly into our first segment. We kind of did lose the bye week. And I want to start the show off properly, man, to give the proper respect to our fallen Cowboy, Mr. Marshawn Kneeland, who scored a touchdown in the last embarrassment last week. And who to know in 48 hours that'd be, one of his last moments with us. So I did want to take a quick second to acknowledge that. So,
100%. Tough, man.
Yeah. Y'all's thoughts on that? Y'all can go ahead and rock real quick.
Man, first of all, what's up, fellas? It was that was, man, it always sucks to hear when you see a young man, it really anyone, hear about, an untimely death, man. But, when it's a public figure like Marshawn Kneeland, and like you said, Cliff, see this young man, you're out there, he's a young guy trying to make his way in the league and, gets the rare defensive touchdown, that's a big moment. And, to the people watching and, the crowd that was there and all that, that's, this young man's on top, right? He's living life, man. And, to your point, 48 hours later, he's gone. And, it hits different for me personally, man, because this young man's 24 years old, and, I have a daughter, I have a child and, niece and nephew, at a little bit older than him. And, I get just the emotions just from, from a father perspective, man. It's just, I got to admit, I welled up a little bit just hearing the news just because of that perspective. I can't imagine, the pain, that his father, is going through. And, like I said, being a dad, of a 27-year-old, and now a new grandfather, man, it's just, it puts a lot of things in perspective, man. And a lot of what these young guys go through and the families that it touches. And, you see the one visual, like say he's scoring a touchdown in an NFL game, guys don't really get to score touchdowns a lot. And then 48 hours, you hear of his passing, at his own hands. And you just, you really never know what people are going through, man. And before I throw it to Joey, man, I'll take this time to big up Jerry Jones. I know I said this to you guys prior to the show started, man, but I didn't see this till right before we came on. But a really, really classy and moving gesture by Jerry Jones, who has made Marshawn Kneeland's father, who's now that was his only son, and his wife has since passed as well prior to. Jerry Jones has made Marshawn Kneeland's father. Yeah, Jerry Jones has made Marshawn Kneeland's father a staff member of the Dallas Cowboys to assist with young men who are dealing with mental health, situations, and because he wants to be an active advocate to help young men, who are dealing with what they're dealing with, not take the unfortunate path that his son took to take his life, man. So I thought that was an incredible gesture. I saw that just before we came on. And again, prayers up to the Kneeland family and, the Cowboy locker room. It'll be interesting to see how this affects them going forward. But that was just a tremendous and very humbling and very tragic deal.
Well said. Well said.
It kind of it really put, like you said, D, you got choked up a little bit. It put a pall on the entire day for me.
Yeah.
I just, it's one of those things that, I just couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And, here's a 24-year-old man who scored a touchdown on Monday night. The world watching, as they say. And he had the huge smile on his face,
Yeah.
when they remind him, you can kind of go one or two ways, when you score, it's either, LFG and you're all hyped up or, like this kid, man, he just had a big ear-to-ear grin. And,
Right.
that's consistent with things that we heard, about the young man. Difficult upbringing, but, seemed to just have a great energy. Very not super chirpy, but a very, very upbeat guy. And, it weighed heavy on my mind, just like the rest of the guys on the show, man. It weighed heavy on my mind, because we talked about it a little bit. How you arrive at that spot.
Right.
How you get to that spot? Young, big, good-looking guy, no homo. Millionaire, scored a touchdown on Monday night, and obviously had a nice enough car to shake the police off. So you think everything's going good for the guy, and I just cringe when I think about what was going through his mind. At that particular point in time when he says, "Okay, this is the best option for me." It's just. Yeah, and we even had, and it's all speculation on our part, but I know that, I believe Cliff had mentioned, perhaps could CTE be involved, and that's very likely a possibility. I mean, it is a possibility. When you're banging heads like that 60 times a game, stuff can happen, and again, it's speculation. That's all speculation, but you just cringe when you think what was going through the young man's mind. For him to make a decision like that. And yes, and also would land the plane and say that, big ups to Gerald. Like I said, I know his people, they've kind of gone through some stuff, when he was coming up. And so, I'm thinking that this really helps, really helps his family. Again, just, a real tragedy, man. A real tragedy.
Indeed.
Yeah, I guess I'll put a nice bow on it, and I'm gonna first give grace, because again, man, when you when you're that young, a lot of things go through your mind. I can vividly remember being 24 years old playing professional ball in Europe, and a lot of times I was very up, a lot of times very down, and sometimes you may get into positions where you think that your life can be over when you make a mistake. And this is kind of, tantamount what I put on my Facebook, is that again, starting with grace. Like people say, like mental health is a very prevalent issue, in our country. Like a lot of kids,
Absolutely.
Adults, whomever, go through traumas that don't get addressed, and they compound, they compile, and they fester, and then they manifest in whatever kind of way. Some people mildly. Sometimes when you face with adversity, all that stuff that you never dealt with can come to a crescendo in a very tragic way. So from what I understand with the story is that he got into a fender bender, ran from 12, like the YN say,
right.
ran from them folks, got in another wreck, bailed his car, and then that's when he kind of was letting his people know that he about to, do what he gonna do. And again, him losing his mother the year previous, I know that weighed heavily on him. And then, like I was saying, now this is kind of like, because I'm just telling y'all what I see and what I think.
Sure.
I'm thinking about his age group, because I know he's the age of my last batch of kids I used to teach. And I know the shit that they listen to, the shit they consume, and they're like real big on that either turn up or they emo. And they struggle sometimes with these, adverse moments.
Right.
And I think that, maybe now I'm just, speculating because obviously I don't know his intricate story, that kind of emo, Triple X Tentacion era and what have you, it affected this group.
Yeah.
And I hate to see that when you probably should push through a little bit, when you should probably just compartmentalize, just take the L, take your punishment, and move forward. He kind of just thought that it wasn't worth it no more because he'd have made these two big mistakes. And I'm saying this outright like this because I'm saying, guys, it's never as bad as you think. Take the L, take accountability, work through it.
Work through it. 100%.
Now, I'm gonna say this joke kind of tongue in cheek, but I mean, you play for the Cowboys, man. If any team you can mess up and come back from, this shit. Right
That's a word right there, man. That's a word right there.
Yep. So again, I led in with grace, but just being real, going through. So for the listening audience, if you make a mistake, man, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world, man. Like sometimes you guys just take that shit on the chin, own up to your shit, and move forward. So again, I'm just looking at it from all sides. So, but again, overall, rest in peace to that young man. Had from the highest of highs to lowest low within 48 hours. 48 hours. That's just how real life can get, man. So I just wanted to say that as we move forward in the show.
Well said, my brother.
There you go. So all right, man. So again, rest in peace to Marshawn, man. As we move forward in the show. So Zen, let's go ahead and fire up that the Lucky Whitehead Award as we go into the meat of the show, talking about these GD Cowboys.
Lucky Whitehead. We're doing Lucky Whitehead.
Indeed.
All right, Lucky Whitehead Award. I guess I'll kick the party off, and I'm gonna just be nice and just I'm gonna give it to Marshawn, man, getting the defensive touchdown like D Brown led in with. Very rare defensive touchdown. Yep. It don't happen a lot. You're lucky to get one in your whole career if you play defense. Correct. And the youngin, I fallen Cowboy, he gets my Lucky Award for getting that much coveted defensive touchdown. Let me start the party off there.
I'll second that. I thought he did. I mean, it's a little thing, but I thought, he good body control, man, just to get in there and swallow that thing up instead of kicking it around, He was Johnny on the spot. Good play by Sam Willams. I think Sam's got a couple of those in his career. So yeah, I would, yeah, it's apropos, I think, is the phrase that the French use. It's definitely appropriate, man. Yeah, I was very hopeful that was going to be big and that was going to be a spark, man. But then, then we'll get into this as we get into the thing with the Cardinals. It wasn't to be, but yeah, that's who I'll go with. I'll go with MK on this one.
There you go.
That's the unanimous pick, man. I won't prolong that. Like you said, JC, it's apropos. But I mean, to Cliff's point, defensive linemen, they can go a whole career and not see the end zone. So I mean, that's and that was to the point made, JC, that you were thinking, for a team that needed it, and needed a spark, to get that's usually a very huge momentum shifting type of deal. Obviously, it didn't work out for Dallas in the total outcome. But as far as the spirit of this award, and that's as unsung as it gets when you have a big T lineman, getting a touchdown. So, yep, that's the trifecta on that one for this week.
He was moving too, man.
His big boy was running. Yeah,
the award. I mean, it doesn't take a ton of talent to hustle, and good things happen when you hustle like that. And he was hustling on the play.
Absolutely.
And, that's what it's about. That's what it's
about. Don't
man.
matter. If your legs moving, something good gonna happen eventually.
There you go.
Absolutely. As my coaches would say, having a motor, man. Nothing replaces having a motor. I ain't gonna lie, I had about a half a motor. I had calculated movements with my movements. And I'm sure if I was more active, I would have had a lot more productivity. But I was
coach asking for the V8, you give him that four-cylinder?
Hey, man, risk assessment. I make sure I had something to take instead of just going off. Hey, I keep it real over here, baby.
I love it.
All the way. But I did appreciate when I had teammates or players who played under me who just every time balls to the wall, run through the wall no matter what. So, and that's, again, what they say, virtue befalls the opportunistic or some shit. I don't know what it is, but basically, you put yourself in position for good things to happen when you go out there. So
their motto, I preach it all the time with the kids I coach now.
Absolutely. Be active. So for all you AAU people out there with your sorry ass kid, listen, your sorry ass kid won't be 6'7". He won't be 6'7". But what you can tell that little son bitch is if you go out there and bust your tail every day, you will win the favor of any coach that you under. The sport don't matter.
That is gospel. That's real shit right there.
Listen,
as one who was presently squarely in that medium, boy, that is you could not have issued a more real and better edict than that one.
There you go. So if your 5'8" baby daddy that made this opportunity, tell your kid to go out there and be the first in the races every day. Tell 100%. Your kid to go run through the wall. Your kid will play. Don't tell your entitled kid he about to go to the league. You know, I look at his daddy, his mom 5'8". Probably not.
I can just say now, like I got a vision now of Cliff giving a basketball camp for kids, right? And he's playing center, and he's swatting everything in sight.
Oh man, right? All day.
Get that shit out of here, Junior.
100%.
All day. Yeah, no.
100%.
You just get out here.
Ladies like Pat Ewing swatting shots out of there. Get that shit out of here, boy.
Yeah,
you better come harder than that, right?
Nah, you talking about the Kimbe Mutombo in those old commercials. The Kimbe was swatting kids.
100%.
Hey, that was me 100%. Nah, ain't nothing sweet in this gym. Ain't nothing sweet out here. So, all right, so let's move on to the next segment, man. Y'all hit the like button. Listen, man, you're getting the best content over here, bar none. So make sure y'all at least hit the like button. That's for free. And if you really like it, hit that super chat button. If you really, really like it, go hit the subscribe button so you come back around. So shout out to XL Pro and Pat so far in the chat. Pat? All right, so again, I got to give Pat his flowers every time I see him around. His kid is one of the best hoopers. I think he's a junior in Houston, a sophomore. One of the best hoopers in Houston. Nice. Pat produced that. Just saying. Y'all look out for his boy, man. His boy is on everybody's radar. All right, so moving forward. What'd you say, Joe?
Doesn't Swagoo, Marcus Spears, and his son like super legit?
Hey, his kid is
he's nice.
I heard that too. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving forward, man. So let's talk about this stinker we put up 27-17 to the freaking Cardinals. It's like everything that we thought could go wrong did go wrong with Jacoby Brissett step.
You can't even finish the sentence.
Huh?
You can't even finish the sentence.
Yeah, everybody has their greatest performance against us. That's just what we do. We knew the Cardinals could score points as I laid out by the numbers they could. I just thought our talent could outweigh their talent. That did not happen. We was on the grand scale Monday night. Man, I went to one of the most pathetic bars. I'm gonna just call it out here in Arcadia, California. Man, there was 3 people in there. And
3?
The bartender, they had like a shift change.
Oh wow!
So I'm already mad about the Cowboys. The second, the replacement bartender chick who's a lot younger than the first one, she come in hot. But they having quarrels in front of the customers. Now I get it's only 3 people at the bar now. Like this ain't like this ain't showtime per se. But they had a full-fledged on you ain't clean up behind yourself argument. I was just like, wow, I can't get no reprieve. I was like, y'all can't go in the back and talk about that shit. And I'm watching my Cowboys getting dusted off too. I'm just like, man, it was a bad Monday, man. That's all I'm saying.
All the way around. Wow.
Bad Monday. So, gentlemen, takeaways from our Cowboys, our heroes, losing to the lowly backup quarterback Cardinals. Go.
Same shit.
There you go.
8-1 against those boys over the last 9, right? Man, I don't know what it is. When they were in the same division with the Cowboys pretty much had their way with them. Now, they were very, very physical games. No question about it. And usually it's kind of the other way around. When you're in a division with someone, then a lot of times, you have a tendency maybe even to go 500 against them or, maybe even have some trouble with them, as opposed to, it's like, they say with division game, throw the records out the window, that kind of thing, man. And I think that's definitely true In the NFL, I know it's true in, the SEC that, literally anything can happen. But, since they did the realignment, I mean, it's just the Cowboys just can't beat these guys, and it's unbelievably frustrating. Like when it was just one of those things. It kind of reminded me in a way a little bit of the Denver game a couple of years ago when Sam Williams blocked the punt. But like I think he blocked the punt and then it hit. It was one of those crazy deals where they blocked the punt and then it goes forward, hits one of their guys, and then Denver gets the first down. Right? Okay, so in this one they blocked the punt and which hey, great, great spark. Hey, here we go. And I just remember kind of thinking to myself, well, damn, man, now they got to put the defense back on the field. And sure enough, Cardinals get it back, and they just whenever they needed to drive, they got one. And again, here we go again. The Cowboys defense, made Brissett look extra legit. Like they're already like, well, hey, let's not rush Kyler back, and we're just gonna stay with Brissett right now. And you're just thinking to yourself like, man, this is one you got to get, man. These guys have lost 5 in a row. Come out, jump on them. I did that. I'm not gonna, criticize Coach Schottenheimer completely, but I would have taken the field goal right off the bat. I would have done it. And again, outwardly, I would say, yeah, I'm taking the field goal because, hey, we're down here, just going to take the points. It's not, we're not at the points line or whatever, but also too, again, if it was me coaching the Cowboys, I wouldn't have went for it because I wouldn't have no confidence that we would be able to get in, literally. So I'm like, let me get these points, get something out of it because from that point on, you got 0 out of the offense.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, and it wasn't like they couldn't run at all. They could run a little bit. It just, man, what the Cardinals were doing to them on defense, man, they were stymieing their ass. I was just, I could see against one of those things where, hey, a loss is a loss. And I could see, all right, you go back and forth and you lose one, 31-28 or whatever. But this one was really kind of never in doubt. Just the kind of feeling that you got watching it, it just seemed like they were never going to be able to get going and flip the script on the momentum, and that's, that's tough because, again, man, you take the Chicago, Carolina, Arizona trio, and man, when you're looking at the schedule before the year, you're banking at least 2 of those. You're thinking, nope, 0-3, and again, another conference loss. Man, you really stacked the deck against yourself getting into the playoffs. You literally, I don't even know if you could. I don't think you can afford 2 more losses. A lot of people think 9-7-1 will get them in. I don't think so. Not with the way Carolina's playing and the way Chicago's playing. And again, not to mention that massive logjam over there in the NFC West. Is going to be tough. You still control your fate, but it's going to be tough. But I will say this as I land the plane. It was very interesting because it was after a loss, but then you had those trades go down. And so that kind of gave everybody, out at, up in Frisco, out at the Star and the local fan of a little bit of a lift, in that. And I know we're going to cover this, in acquiring Logan Wilson and Quinnen Willams. Absolutely, one of the finest defensive tackles in the National Football League. He's as good of a run defender as there is, period. So, and we'll get into that, but yeah, man, this one stung. This one hurt, man. Talk about casting a pall. Yeah, man, that's tough to watch because you needed to bank that one. You needed to get back to level and then try to make a push. There's just something about being 500. I know, as weird as it sounds, Something about being 500 as opposed to being 2 games under 500. You just feel like you're on a lot better footing. And you're like, okay, it's literally a mental reset. Okay, here we go. You know what I'm saying? 4-4-1 season starts now. Let's go. You know, you feel a little bit better about it. It's funny how the mind works. You know, we talked about it earlier, man. You know, it's very palpable, you know, in terms of the impact. Losing this game, you know, just because it's just, again, we talked about conference record, we talked about just the general overall record. But there is some optimism with the trades, which we will obviously get into later on. Straight O Chaser, the greatest podcast of the last half century.
There we go. Put a specific date on it. The last half century, we've been the best consistently. That's fact.
that last half century shit just sounds good. You know?
Yeah.
It just sounds good.
D Brown before you
the last half century. Like, you know, it's a 50-year block.
Great line, sir.
50-year block.
No, man. Well, let me just say this. Just, you know, let me inject this as I get D Brown's breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, from a totality standpoint, we talked about how this is a game we got to bank, and JC just, you know, crystallized that point. We heard Jura say that before the game, I got this big trade and more coming. So, you know, our minds are all over the place. Like, what the hell is he talking about? You know, Jerry be saying a lot of shit.
But that was weird when he did that shit, right? You know, he did it on purpose.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
I did something. I just ain't telling y'all what it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He's P.T. Barnum in current form. That's what Jerry Jones is. So, as a Cowboy fan, we watched this our first Monday night game. So we like, okay, what the hell is he talking about? What trade did he pull off? But oh, by the way, let's beat the Cardinals first before we really care about what that is. So
priorities.
We know what season we have going. So and I gotta say, man, it's like I don't know what to make of this year, being 3-5-1. Because I see at our best, our offense is so good that we can have postseason aspirations, but our defense is so bad that it's almost like conventional wisdom got to say, like, temper, like as D Brown would say, tap brakes, and realize that this ain't the year, right? So I say all that to say, when Jerry announces the trade, I'm like, okay, what are you trading for? And you're trading for what? Because it's still up in the air about, are we gonna keep George Pickens? Are we gonna go out and flip those number ones that we got from the Micah trade, so on and so forth? So I'm like, okay, we win this game. I feel confident about going out and making a splash because that would put us at 4-4-1, you know, in the hunt. So we go out, we get embarrassed, and then first trade for that linebacker from the Bengals. I forget his name.
Logan Wilson.
Logan Wilson.
Yes, sir.
So I'm like, whoop-de-doo. Like, I mean, okay, we got a linebacker. We damn sure need that. But I'm like, I mean, last time I checked, Logan Wilson wasn't buzzing off anybody's scouting report. And in fact, he got replaced. He got a spot taken, which is always an indictment of bad play. Sometimes you fall out with coaches, scheme, so on and so forth. And then when the goddamn Quinnen Williams shit dropped, I was like, hold on now. What's going on here? So now some people are saying, you know, it's a bad trade, but I'm thinking, okay, he got, 2 years left on his contract after this year?
3
years. He's 27 years old. Hey, yo, sign the TF up for that.
Yeah.
Because, listen, man, and like we were talking about pre-show, he's only available because the Jets stink. Because he was who the Cowboys wanted for the listening audience out there.
That's correct.
With Dak Prescott, not Dak Prescott,
but
Michael Parsons trade. Jets said, hell no. Because everybody's lofty week 1. Week 9.
Correct.
1-8. So, hey, man, what y'all was trying to give us for like things change.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Got rid of Sauce Gardner, who is a premier cornerback in this league, and a guy who, and rest in peace to Richard Walker, our fallen comrade on this show. I got to see Sauce Gardner because of Rich when he got drafted out there in Vegas.
Yeah, that's right.
And also going to say, too, because it's almost a year since Rich passed. So, I can attribute all of my professional, covering the Texans, covering the Super Bowl twice, covering the NFL draft, covering the Rockets. It's all because of Rich. So I do want to give Rich his flowers in that regard. Him being a third of the think tank that made this show.
100%.
So, yeah. And also the reason why I got JC, Mr. One-Liner himself, is a part of this show is because of Rich.
Because of Rich. Yep.
I went back and watched the whole episode. I'm like, man, damn, it's crazy. 5 seasons in where we are now.
Yeah.
So, but to go forward, we got some manna from heaven, literally, with Quinnen Willams coming into our fold. And so I know we're going to segue that to the next segment. But ultimately speaking, so from a bad loss like that, I'm thinking, okay, what are we doing? Are we trying to win right now? Or we just took advantage of a fire sale at the time? So I just want to inject that in the conversation as we go forward because that win was terrible. No reason to be losing to the backup. We were at home, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We were 3-1 before that game at home, I believe. And real quick, I'll go by the number because I got to get off camera because I got to go ahead to work. So I'll be remote. By the numbers, Jacoby Brissett, 21 of 31, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. Don DeMarco, whatever his name is, 14 carries for 79 yards. Not great. Marvin Harrison Jr., boy, he put Deron Bland on his tail end, boy.
I've never seen an and one wide receiver tape. That was the first. Shit.
Yo. D. Brown said it right. He like, that's the equivalent of an Allen Iverson crossover. And put him on his back.
I hit him. God, I'm not done. Come on, bring your ass back here. Hit his ass again. It's like, God almighty. Oh, shit.
So and that's your number one guy. He did that too.
That's your number one guy. So this is apropos of what we said before the show. We talked about how Marvin Harrison Jr. was having a slump. But I was like, if it's any team you can get your rocks off of, it's on Cowboys because it's fresh P out there. Shout out to my coach, former coach Daryl Hawkins. It's fresh P out there in Dallas, Texas. All right, so again, 261 yards in the air. Also 5 sacks. You just can't give that up. And so on our side of the fence, we looked at Dak Prescott of 24 of 39. Not horrible, but just percentage-wise, that's not very Dak. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, as we know. Javonte Williams, decent day at the office. 15 carries for 83 yards. I got Jaden Blue for whatever reason, a healthy scratch. So there's that.
I wonder what's going on there, man. I'm getting into this here in a second, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you rock because I just want to kind of give all the
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Set it up before I have to step away for a second. Yes. So CeeDee Lamb 7 receptions for 85 yards, no touchdowns. George Pickens 6 for 79. Which, listen, man, with two 1 receivers, that's what you want right there. Problem is, ain't nobody else step up. So as we saw, just outclassed. Arizona putting up a healthy lead before we decided our offense to wake up a little bit in the fourth quarter. Which I'm just not a big fan of late game scoring and making the lead look good per se. Right. But so with all that being said, not our greatest effort, not our greatest showing. And so as I kick it to D Brown, man, just to kind of put a capstone on where we are right now. Quinnen Williams, a great, and we'll talk about him a little more, a great injection, but like it's almost like what and why, when you really think they're fully upfield. Go ahead, D Brown.
All right, man. So I love like the points both of you guys brought up about the game itself, and we'll get into the trade here in just a bit. But as far as the game concerned, man, so this is of the JC, you brought 3 games up that I thought was a very interesting point when you look at the Cowboys schedule, like you said, and I thought you were spot on. You look at the Carolina, Chicago games and this one, and you're looking at that schedule. Of course, you got to play the games, but you're looking at those and you're thinking you got to bank 2 of those, right? And you go 0 for 3 in those games. And when you said that, I was like, that was spot on. And of those 3 efforts, which were all really bad, I think this one was the worst. Coming into this point of the season where you needed to pull level, to your earlier point, JC, and feel good about things as you prepare and get the bye week to go on the road for another Monday night extravaganza against the Raiders. How big is that game now? But just the to go out and give that kind of effort with a team that, I'm sorry, you damn well should have beat, was probably the most annoying and disappointing of those particular games that you referenced. And I, and you mentioned Shotty that you wouldn't, relay into Shotty in terms of, the decision early to go forward and not take the points. I agree with you. I would have taken the points, but I'm gonna take Shotty to task a little, significantly more than that, because this is a team and he's the head coach. I mean, we're 3 guys who follow it pretty closely, but Shotty by now, and we know this is his inaugural one, but Shotty by now has to know that, one, let's not get away from those things where you having like tremendous early success when you get down, in the red zone, particularly inside the 5-yard line. No, let's not overthink this. Let's get back to some of those things. And even if some of the tape that the teams are starting to see, particularly with those early, with their early success of just literally turning around, handing it to Javonte Williams, and getting it across the goal line and scoring touchdowns. Come on, man. Let's get in our bag a little bit and use some of that, because now they're loading up for that. Let's get some play action going on first down on those things. Let's not be as predictable. But to make the decision, which I think set the tone for the entire shitbag that game turned into, because that's what it is with this team. If you guys notice, and even some of y'all watching in the chat, if you watch Cowboy games, you notice the early success barometer is pretty strong either way. If they have something wheels off happens, I go to the Chicago game. Javonte Williams is streaking down the sideline on a huge game. He fumbles the ball. That game never gets right after that, right? Same in the Philly game. They're going back and forth, not really stopping Jalen Hurts from running the football, defending it pretty well, decent pressure, we're running the ball. You get that late game fumble from Miles Sanders, and you got to believe Dallas was scoring there. And once that calamity happens, it never gets quite right after that. I mean, I can go game after game after game. The penalty in the Carolina game, right? I mean, whenever this calamity happens, this is the team, this version doesn't overcome adversity, right? So every chance you get to do something positive, especially when it's early, Dallas has to take advantage of. In this case, would have been disappointing not to get the touchdown? Yeah. But for Dallas, with this team's margin of error being non-existent, right? You can't come out of that situation with 0 points. It set the tone for the entire game, and it just went to complete shit after that. So I am taking Shotty to task on that, because he has to have a pulse on that, right? It's like, we've got to, we get back down there. Let's score 7, but we can't come away with nothing, especially when you've got, that guy coming in to put points on the board in Brandon Aubrey. So, and I think it just set the tone for a lot of just, I'm gonna go. My man JC's off used and aptly used shit got hinky, right? From that point forward, it just really never said it. They would get small spots where you're thinking, all right, okay, they move the ball, like that first drive, it's zip, 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 and then it just bogs down. And then you make the decision and you get nothing. And it just never gets back right. Then they get in the game and, I got to shout out one particular guy who, even though the game overall was shit, but this was the game when we talked last week that the big defensive move was to give Jadeveon Clowney more snaps. Jadeveon Clowney was active as hell in that game. I thought he looked, pretty good. Obviously, the play with Sam Williams forcing the turnover, Marshawn Kneeland picking the ball up and scoring. I was thinking like, okay, now we'll get the shit back and they'll take off. They just couldn't get it right, man. This team can't overcome early adversity. So that's on Shotty, in my opinion. Somewhere in this deal in the last 2 weeks, it's gotten a little funky with the play calling. And the Dallas line, which was the young Dallas line, the really young Dallas line, was showing some real promise in the first 5-6 weeks of the season. These last 2 weeks, they're getting whipped up front. Let's just call it what it is. They're not handling the line of scrimmage as well as they were in the first 5 or 6 weeks. In this bye week, I know there's a number of things that you want to get corrected. That was one of, before the last couple of weeks, the consistent positives for Dallas is that young offensive line was showing up, especially in the Jets game when you had 80% of the starters out, the backups come in, handle business. They need to get back to that. That has to be one of the priority things getting ready for this road trip next week on the Monday night game against the Raiders. But the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the ball, they got to shore that up again because we got to be able to utilize this weaponry that we got, obviously, with CD and Pickens. You look at the production numbers that Cliff read off, and they're like, well, damn, these are not spectacular numbers, but pretty solid production. 15 for 83 from Williams, that's 5 a toe. You'll take that all day long. But it was just in patches, in spaces. They couldn't establish that consistency again because you can't overcome the early adversity. And
they couldn't pass block.
Couldn't pass block for shit. That's gotta
could not pass
block. And usually like a guy like Terrence Steele is a whipping boy, and deservedly so a lot of those times. But they were getting whipped in the interior. They were getting whipped all across the line, and they've got to shore that up and get back to handling the line of scrimmage, or this season is going to get even crazier as they finish it out. And to land it, going forward, I know we're going to get into the trade here in just a second, but there's a lot of guys that are out, right? And it's reared its ugly head. It's manifested itself on the field, but this is, I think this is the 2025 Cowboys. This is just what they are. They're a really solid offensive football team with some pretty solid depth. We saw that kind of manifest itself on the offensive line. We've got some depth there in the receiver core, as receivers and tight ends. Javonte Williams has been great. Dak overall has been really, really good. Defensive side of the ball, they lack talent, and they lack depth of talent. Now, some of that talent has been, unavailable, which, as we all know, is the greatest ability. So you got a lot of guys that are hurt. Revel hadn't seen the field yet. Overshown hadn't seen the field yet. But the guys who have been, Trayvon Diggs, who the hell knows what's going on there? I don't know that he plays another down in the Cowboys uniform. We'll see. Maybe taking the Cardinal stance that they've taken towards Kyler Murray, which I think there's a real ill wind blowing there, because he's healthy, and then they put him on IR. How crazy is that? That kind of sounds like the concussion at home, right? But I digress. They're just not a very good football team with not a lot of talent that's seeing the field, and certainly not any depth behind it that gives you anything. So to me, this is about, as it would probably, segue into the trade. I think the whole deal for Williams, which I'm excited about, is certainly about going forward. I personally, man, I think it's just a deal where you evaluate, what you've got that you're going to roll over into next year on the defensive side of the football. They're pretty well set contractually, as we talked about a few weeks ago. A lot of probably 80% of your key components on that offensive unit are under contract through the remainder of Dak's deal. There's the hope that you can get a deal done with Pickens, and you damn sure better sign Aubrey. Those are your two guys. Everybody else is under contract. Defensively, you've got to see what you got. You got to see, like, hey man, we're cutting bait, or we're going to see who we're building around, who will be the anchor of that defense in Quinnen Williams. That's the way I look at it. And but as far as this season goes, I think it's a wash, man, because they just don't have it. They don't have the talent They don't have anything that gives you any optimism. Am I hearing music as well? Okay. You don't have anything that give you any optimism for any level of consistency to be consistently productive from this defensive unit to talk about, a playoff run or anything to that end. And that's a great question. As why is Eberflus still employed? Man, maybe, I know there's a relationship there with Shotty and Matt Eberflus. He's one of those guys. That's a great question. He's one of those guys where I've often wondered how he ascended to where he did, because his units, as you look back historically, he's never had that one really dominant unit as a defensive guy. He wasn't particularly good as a head coach. So, I think it's one of those relationship things. I think that's going to be a conversation that's going to get probably at the top of the agenda to get revisited at the end of this season. But in terms of a playoff aspiration, man, where I landed here on this segment, I don't see it. I don't think the consistency's there. I don't think the talent's there. But I think you did make a perfect step forward in anchoring that defense, where it's been the single weakest for about 10 years now, and that's with an absolute stud in Quinnen Williams.
Yeah, I think Ezraku has started to show a little something, and that ties directly into Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson in terms of what I'm hearing, and what particularly a guy that has kind of been on the gun line here a little bit, Osa. Osa pretty much came out and said that he was thrilled that they got Williams because they're gonna do more five fronts. Right. And, we've been talking for years, as a way to help the run game, to play a little 4-3 over, all right, which essentially is a 5-guy front. Okay, so just kind of picture it in your mind. All right, 4-3 front 7. You got your 4 down linemen, all right, as opposed to the triangle setup. Right. You take one of them and you put him on the line. They usually stand up. Okay, on the strong side. So now you have the double mic set up, the double mic component, and it's like a 5-2. Okay, so what would that look like? Well, it would be Clowney, Osa, Clark, and Williams, and Ezraku is going to be that 5th guy. With a combination of hopefully, eventually Overshown, but again,
and Wilson.
I don't see Overshown coming back until Thanksgiving. That to me is the landing spot. Like I would think that he might even play on Thanksgiving. That I think that you got the short week and he can add a little bit of juice to the thing. You just don't need to rush the kid, man. You really don't. Badly as you want him and as excited as you can get about a potential setup like we talked about with Hawaiian Punch and Overshown as Rocky, being out there on the field together. That you're not going to get that for a while. Okay, so it's not going to happen right away. But on to Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson. Now Logan Wilson, this is a guy that when Cincinnati made their run to the Super Bowl, that defense was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Again, I talked about they got your guy Hendrickson, they had Wilson, or 55 as I called him, and I kept calling him when I saw when they made their run. I was like, man, 55's a good linebacker, and he was. And they had my guy Jesse Bates on the back line. Well, fast forward to now, Wilson just basically was getting his minutes taken from him. Okay, they let Bates go a long time ago. Wow, shocking. Cincinnati doesn't want to pay somebody. I'm stunned. And Hendrickson, he's been hurt, right? But I thought Logan Wilson was an excellent linebacker in space, excellent at the line of scrimmage. Now he's probably not that same guy, in terms of he's aged a little bit. But when you talk about the trade and you talk about Williams and Wilson, you do have both of the guys. You've got both of those guys for the next couple of years if you so desire to keep them, and they are under contract. And that's kind of the theme here. with this football team. We talked about the inconsistency of the offense. That's honestly, it's a lineup thing. It's a lineup thing, man. They got new guys in that offense in significant positions. All right, Willams and Pickens, most notably. All right, and you got a young offensive line trying to figure it out. These guys haven't played together a lot. Dak and Pickens and then them, and Willams and that. I think that's part of it. That it's they're unsure, and I think you were dead on, DB, when you talked about Coach Schottenheimer. That's really kind of on him, man. You can't be unsure. But again, injuries, new guys on the offense. That's kind of led to it. So the offense is not the juggernaut that we thought it was. And all the hypes and all the crawls. How good is this stuff? It's going to stop this offense, take them to the playoffs, and all that kind of shit that you see on all the shows and all the crawls and stuff. Yeah, it's a good offense, man. But hey, easy. Let's not get excited. It's been pretty inconsistent. These last 2 weeks in particular have been bad, downright bad.
And a lot of it has to do with protection. A lot of it has to do with the protection breakdowns have not been what they were early. Yeah, definitely Monday for sure. Before we get into the
protection's inconsistent. You're not gonna be able to do anything if you can't block it.
Correct.
And so this is what you're getting. New team, new pieces, on and on and on. And again, Williams is going to do nothing but help. As Cliff alluded to earlier, he's 27 years old. You're talking about one of the best combo defensive tackles in terms of, he's an excellent pass rusher and he's an even better run defender.
He's got some John Randall to his game.
He routinely grades out high.
He is. For those
he's one of those Alabama guys. For those unfamiliar, when in doubt, draft the motherfucker from Alabama or Georgia or some shit, right? He's going to help, and it's going to be a palpable impact, particularly long term. But I do think that it will also help in the short term as well. That guy's too good not to help.
Yeah, for those unfamiliar, Quinnen Williams is one of those guys. Like I said, I like looking at players and seeing comparisons to the players who were, especially when they're a premier guy like him, like kind of what they or who they remind you of. And to me, for those of us who are particularly seasoned, he's got, like I said,
he's a lot like Payne. He's a lot like Payne. Darren's guy. He's a lot like Payne in DC.
And from days gone by, he's got the size, the quicks, and just the disruptive action in the middle of that line, a lot like Hall of Famer John Randall to me. John Randall was a guy that could get after the quarterback from the defensive tackle spot, and he could absolutely just destroy your run game. And he's got the really, really high motor. I mean, you see some clips. You really don't see a lot of just sexy defensive lineman tape, right? Unless you see guys, like J.J. Watt in his prime, or certainly, guys like Jerome Brown, God rest him, or even I'm trying to think of other like I said, John Randall. Guys from the interior don't really have a lot of tape. This is a guy who can, run running backs down to the edge from the defensive tackle spot. He is that destructive. So the level of talent, and like Cliff noted before he jumped off camera, this is a guy that the Cowboys had in their crosshairs to trade Micah Parsons for. That's how highly regarded Quinnen Williams is. So the fact that you got him under contract is a good thing. And for you salary cap nerds, the AAV is where the average annual value of Micah's dollar versus Quinnen Williams' dollar is about a $20 million a year difference, right? Because of when Williams signed his deal. So you're talking about an impactful guy from a different spot on the defensive side of the ball, but it's a spot that Dallas has actually needed shoring up even when Michael was here, long before now. So they didn't just go get a guy. They got one of the 2 or 3 best in football who is in his prime. And JC, you referenced, Logan Wilson, like you said, since he made the Super Bowl run, a few years ago, he was a very integral part of what was a really good defense. And you know who he reminds me of with where he is now, and that he's an older guy, not quite what he was, but he has the IQ to diagnose plays, because that's been the real big thing, as we've seen on film, the lack of eye discipline with this horrific linebacking that we've seen up until this point. He reminds me of when Dallas got Keith Brookins. When Keith Brookins came in here from the Falcons, longtime Falcon. And Keith Brookins was a dog for a long time now. He wasn't quite what he was in his heyday with the Falcons, but you could see that he could diagnose plays. Some of those he just couldn't get to because he wasn't quite that guy yet. But even he gave you weeks where he made plays simply because he could diagnose it and know where to be and make the play. And I think Logan Wilson kind of is going to show some of that. Don't know that he was quite as long as the tooth as Brookings was when he came to it, but he has that kind of feel coming from the Cincinnati situation to what he's going to do here. I think he'll contribute. I don't know that it'll be, just the game-wrecking, impactful way that he was in Cincy, but I think he'll definitely help because, like we said, the linebacking core here, the linebacking play here to this point has been god-awful. But, as far as the trade is concerned, I like what Dallas has done, but as the short term, we'll see plays that will probably give you some optimism about the thing next year, right? Because I don't think this is an Amari Cooper situation, if I can put that trade, because, Dallas had a very similar record when they traded for Amari Cooper back in, what was it now, 2018? I think it was. Yeah. And 18. That trade propelled them on a 6-1 run, and they make playoffs, win a playoff game against Seattle and that whole deal. I don't think this Quinnen Williams trade does that. There's too many holes in that defense. There's too many, not even question marks, just bad play on the back end for it to be that impactful. But you'll see. I think Cowboy fans and just observers will see just how impactful this guy will be almost immediately. I mean, he's that level of player. I think he'll help Odigizua out quite a bit. He'll free some things up in terms of attention for even a guy like Clowney, as young Azaraku, who's coming on. So a guy like that just impacts that thing across that front line. They still have too much to plug behind that defensive line for this to be a this year type of turnaround as far as the trade is concerned. But I'm damn glad he's here. And if you're going to trade for a guy, that you want to be a difference maker.
Well when they had DJ Reader playing defensive tackle in Cincinnati. That right. When Cincinnati had DJ Reader and Hendrickson and Bates, like I said, Wilson did really well. He can do the really, really good Wilson, the Pro Bowl Wilson. He can do everything in terms of he's not a huge rush guy, but he's great covering tight ends. He's great against the run. He's great at slipping out screens. He's just like the perfect stand-up linebacker, which is exactly what we need now. You only give up a 7 to get him, so likely he's not what he was. But hey, why not give it a shot, man? That's a good trade, I think.
Yeah, and lastly, before we get to the trivia, this week's trivia question, you mentioned the picks, right? So I totally agree with you, JC, in that you only gave up a 7 for him, which I thought was pretty shrewd. And you look at what Dallas gave up, because when Jerry was talking about before the Cardinal game, he's like, we're making moves. And the first thing in my head was, well, 2 things. One, who are we talking about? And what did you give up? Right? Because, we know about the draft picks acquired in the market trade. You got the 2 first and what have you. And I'm thinking, man, don't give away, don't shoot your whole wad, on a guy, right? Because they need too much. And then so when I hear the deal, and for those unfamiliar, Cowboys gave up next year's second and 2027 first to the Jets for
the higher of the 2 first.
The higher of the 2 first. That's correct.
Higher of the 2 first, yes.
But they were able to maintain their right and Mizey Smith. Let's not gloss over that. They were able to dump, and you know what? And I'm glad you said that, JC. Man, there's a time when as an organization, you just miss on a guy, right? I mean, we saw the Taco Charlton gaffe. This was an organization that has had some pretty notable whiffs on defensive linemen over the years. I think back, JC, you're gonna love this. I think back to Shante Carver. Everybody's in 96. Shante Carver. I didn't mean to give you Sunday morning indigestion, but as a frame of reference, this is a team that's had some pretty bad gaffes as far as drafting defensive linemen. But
he
Taco
was Michael Sam without the alternative lifestyle.
Yeah,
that's basically who Carver was.
Right,
awful pick.
Yeah, and then Taco Charlton, instead of T.J. Watt,
even worse.
That was the deal. And you move forward to Mazi Smith, another Michigan guy, and it just didn't work. But Cowboy gaffes of the past, even the recent past, they were like, and they did give Mazi Smith every opportunity to, hey man, get it going, and you kind of have to do that with a guy that's your first round pick. It just didn't happen. But I like the fact that they acknowledged that it didn't happen. We whiffed on that deal, and you get him out of here and clear the roster spot. So, even in the totality of the transaction, I thought that was great. That so you maintain your 2 firsts in the upcoming 26 draft. You get rid of Mazi Smith, and you solidified what's been a glaring need forever in Quinnen Williams. So now what do? You can turn the attention of those early draft picks and attack some things. Maybe trade down with one of the first and acquire some draft picks. Maybe a second or third to look at a safety, look at a running back. Some of those things, and when that comes around in April, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I kind of like what Dallas has done in terms of positioning themselves to improve this defense to help complement the offense. So now you got a more balanced team, and you can really talk about, doing some things productive and having that balance on both sides of the ball and making an actual run in this thing while you still have Dak Prescott in what 3 years left on this deal in the prime of his career.
Yeah, and next year's a deep defensive draft for whatever that's worth.
Yep.
I mean, there's players in every draft, but next year's draft is full of a lot of highly regarded front 7 guys, D linemen. There's some really good corners. Your man from LSU, we were talking about.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Mansour, he looks like, I've watched a lot of film on him. He looks like a baller to me.
Yeah.
Would love to get a guy like that. And
a strong game last night in the L against Bama.
And I will say this. Yeah, I will say this. I guarantee with this trade, the way that it was structured, the Quinnen Williams trade, the way that it was structured, I don't know what the prop is on whatever these betting sites are or whatever, but I will almost guarantee you that they are going to trade the later of the first 2 first-round picks that they have and pick up a second and a third.
Yeah.
It's just,
that's why
I'm seeing that.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength there.
And, they love to trade. So,
yeah.
That's
we're on the same wavelength there because you gave up next year's second, and I'm thinking, okay, so if they trade the late first and trade down, and you can pick up some picks if somebody wants to trade up. So, and you might even get 2 spots, right? So, but you can definitely pick up that round. I mean, pick up that deal in terms, because what if you don't re-sign Javonte Williams, who's a free agent, right? You can certainly go find a productive back, and you start looking at some DBs. And then around, the safety that you need, since you didn't go make the deal for like a Minka Fitzpatrick, which I'm not mad at. I would like to have seen it, but if you want to invest any more draft capital, now you start talking about that real sweet spot for that player that can come in and start. Because, although they've done a great job of showing up the beginning of their defensive middle in a Quinnen Williams, you got a Diggy Zua signed for, the next few years. So now you've done a great job there, but you got to show it up in the linebacking core, and you damn sure got to show it up at safety. Dallas's safety situation has to be addressed immediately now. You're always looking at – every year you're looking at depth of corner because of the way the league goes now. But safety, man, they've got to address the middle of their defensive backfield at the safety spots. Both of them. I mean, Hooker I can live with, but I think Wilson's time is done. They don't have any depth behind it. You got to go get a guy that you can plug that safety and be your guy for the next 5 years. Yeah, you got to get that guy.
Yeah, and the main thing is not even sacks. It's about pressures. All right, it's simple
100%.
numbers. All right, when you get a real pressure on a quarterback, 9 out of 10 times, it's either incomplete or a pick. It does not work out. It's very rare that you'll see a quarterback step directly into pressure. And again, this is the way it is in life. The anomaly stands out. When you see somebody step up and they're under pressure and they get off a play that becomes a touchdown, that's the anomaly. That very rarely happens. So you think about this as you do the numbers. If you get a guy that's a good player, a good pressure player, and gets you 3 pressures a game, all right, and if that gets you off the field twice, as opposed to allowing a touchdown or say 2 touchdowns or a touchdown and a field goal, you can already see what a palpable difference that is. Just like you can see it on the Cowboys side when they're under pressure, right? Pressure, not blitzes, because Dak is great against the blitz. When Dak's under pressure, like any fucking quarterback would be,
they're
not as good.
Yep.
They're not as good. It goes way down. And again, you're talking about again, look at the numbers, look at the odds. You're talking about a passing situation, right? You stymie that passing situation to get your ass off the field. Boom. That's a stop. These pressures lead to stops. That's what they need. That's what they're not getting. So that's a palpable number that people can actually look at, as opposed to sacks.
Correct.
It's just getting pressure. Like I said, a guy that gets you 3 pressures a game, man. I mean, that's good shit. That helps your defense tremendously. We got the Zen Master in the building.
The Zen Master's in the building.
Rocking the Penguins gear. Rocking the Penguins gear.
I like it.
Sir. Yes, sir. The good old hockey game.
Boss.
The best game you can name. Good old hockey game.
Yeah, catch me later. I'll be changing up for game time. We got the night game tonight at 8:30 p.m.
Indeed.
So
a big one, right?
Say again?
A big one, too, right?
Steelers?
Yeah.
I don't know who they're playing, to be honest with you. I don't even care.
It was the Sunday night game, right?
Yeah.
San Diego
Chargers, that's right. I ran a simulation. I should know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me get off y'all show. I'm back. I had some technical difficulties with Grandma and Grandpa's Wi-Fi.
Are we postponing trivia to next week?
Well, yeah, we can still do Cowboys trivia. You guys want to head into that now?
Yeah, because we're at 110. Yeah, so.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get off the mic because I know I'm probably giving some reverb, and let you guys go ahead and read into the Cowboys trivia question. Once I start the video, we'll have 30 seconds to answer. First person who responds will win $10 via Cash App from Hoop Jargon. I don't know how you're supposed to get in touch with Hoop Jargon, but you should know. So, without further ado, we'll go ahead and start the music, the beautiful lounge music that we selected. And once the video starts, you have 30 seconds.
Nice cornrows, eh? Here's a clue.
All right.
Did we get one?
We have no takers in the chat.
Oh, man.
No takers in the chat.
Well,
but the answer. So I get to keep my money. But the answer to this week's trivia question was C. Drew Pearson.
The great Drew Pearson. My
In the
friend.
1975 NFC Divisional Playoff, aka the original Hail Mary game, Who caught Roger Staubach's game-winning deep ball versus the Vikings? Not the Vikings.
It would not have happened had he not toe tapped on 4th and 17 and caught a 19-yard pass right at the sticks. The catch that he made on 4th down, that Pearson made on 4th down, was a way better catch than the Hail Mary catch. I mean, it was unbelievable. He got belted and he dotted that eye, man, put both of them down right in front of the ref, and that kept that drive going, man.
Oh, yeah, man. Shout out to the great Drew Pearson, who has been a long-time personal friend. I've had the pleasure and privilege of knowing Drew now, almost 40 years. That's crazy. Met him literally right after he retired, and we've been friends since.
Drew seems like he's always in a good mood.
Yeah.
I've met him a couple of times too, man. He's a guy.
I actually met Drew through one of the guys that was one of the multiple choice options on the trivia question. I actually met Drew through Tony Hill. Tony and I got really cool playing ball, and as a matter of fact, I was playing ball with Tony had a promotions company called Legends Sports Promotions. It's all these Cowboy legends, and we played around like different charity functions and whatnot around town, and that's how I got to meet a lot of the guys from those 70s and 80s Cowboys. So, you know, Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett, Drew Pearson, Tony Hill, Billy Joe Dupree, Eugene Lockhart, all these guys, right? There he is, my man Drew. Undrafted out of Tulsa into the Hall of Fame. So
see, this is why we're spoiled. All right. Yep. Cowboys were in the Super Bowl in 75, and then 2 years later in the 77 season, before that season starts, they draft their leading rusher and leading receiver. You just mentioned him, DB.
Yes,
in that draft before that year, and those two guys led the team in rushing and receiving for the next 8 years.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, you talk about the rich getting richer. This is the kind of shit that we were used to as Cowboys fans.
Yes,
right on going, right? Yep. Oh, down year, whatever, boom, plug and play. You get Anthony Dorsett at the top of that draft, and then you get Anthony Hill from out of Stanford in the 3rd round of that draft. And the following, you know, and then for the subsequent seasons, they both led the team in rushing and receiving, the two same guys, you know, for 8 years straight. Now, that's what I'm talking about.
Quick backstory. So, this as it relates to Drew, and we crack up about this to this day. I'm talking about seeing, but so you see just a very prominent fro, right? Now, mind you, this is 70s Drew, prominent fro, and Drew was, you know, for those of you certainly not old enough to remember, Drew was a pretty, you know, slightly built receiver. He was not a big guy at all. I think Drew, even with pads on, maybe $175, right?
But
Tough as nails.
The swagger of a 300-pound motherfucker, right. Man. Drew had swag, boy.
Yeah. So when I met Drew in 1989, so this is literally right at the end of his playing career, and we met, and we were actually playing ball at Tony Hill's house at Chase Oaks in Plano. And so I got to know him, and we're sitting there, you know, talking. I was like, man, you know, what a thrill it was. Mind you, I'm a 22, 23-year-old, you know, kid, and, you know, just finishing college at the time. And I tell Drew this story. So I played football. I played receiver in football. And Drew was like, you know, growing up watching Drew was my guy because, you know, I was a skinny kid, you know, was fast, and, you know, I was a tough little something, but I was a rail. And so I told Drew, I said, man, I was such a fan of yours that when you know, go out to line up, I would in the same exact stance and make sure that my hair from the fro would poke out from underneath the helmet, just like yours. Dude, I told him that story and he cracked up. We've been like really cool ever since then.
Did you get some Saranac gloves? Did you get those Saranac gloves and cut the fingers off?
If Drew Pearson had it,
the Saranac wristbands, right?
Yes, sir.
Saranac wristbands, Saranac gloves, cut the fingers off, right? You know, and then maybe take a tube sock, right? Cut the toe off of it, and then put it all up under here to go over the arm. You know what I'm saying? Right?
All of it, man. So
yeah, man, we didn't have all that Under Armour shit back in the days, boys.
No, sir. So, man, when he finally got the call, that was long overdue. That was one of the happier days of my life as a fan, because I know how much it meant to him, and for him to still be around to see it and enjoy all the accolades that comes with getting the call and getting that yellow jacket, man. It was awesome. So shout out to my man.
Martin his jacket, damn it.
Hey, I'm gonna give a quick shout out.
88.
I'm gonna give a quick shout out to his niece, man. Jenna, man, who I've known for Jenna Pearson, man. She's giving me some signed memorabilia from Drew. So
Yeah,
man, it's good knowing her, for almost about 20 years now, and now
yeah,
we're kind of old now, but yeah, she always speaks with her uncle, the great 88 as she calls him. So yeah,
yes,
man, shout out to Jenna Pearson, man. I want to say that.
yeah. I've forgotten that clip that you had that relationship. Like you said, long time now, huh?
But hey, Drew has got some mitts on him, man. Have you ever shaken his hand? That guy's got some hands on him. Holy crap. He's got some mitts on him. Look at that picture.
Yeah, man. Like I said, we playing ball and whatnot, man. He thought I was like younger than I was too, man. And we were going at it, man. And afterwards, he was like, man, I tell him how old I was. He was like, wait a minute, man, I thought you were like 16, 17 years old. He's like, man, I was taking it easy on. It's like, Drew, you just beat the living shit out of me for like 2 hours. What the hell are you talking about? Like I said, and that's when he had the old sports bar. Remember Sports 88, JC, back in the day off Park Ave?
Yes, I've been there. So, yes, that Walnut Hill was 75.
Yes, indeed. Yes. So we would go there and kick it.
88, yes, I've definitely been there. Yes.
Sports 88. So it was a long history there, and I was glad to see his name pop up in as the answer to the trivia question, because a lot of great memories and a lot of great history with the legendary Drew Pearson, man. But man, I know we're so, bad loss, great trade. We'll see what happens going forward into the matchup with the Raiders. It's still really weird to say the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, I'm a kid. I'm a guy who grew up as a kid in the 70s and 80s, man. It was the greatness of the Oakland Raiders. They will always be the Oakland Raiders in my head and heart. One of my favorite teams, not named the Cowboys, growing up.
The only professional franchise, the only professional football team to appear in a Super Bowl in the 70s, the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like, you could be talking to Al Davis about anything, and he would mention that.
100%.
Greatness of the Raiders. Only pro football team to appear in the Super Bowl in 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Got any parting shots, man? No doubt.
Hey, so I was getting ready for work, so I missed a little bit. Did we talk about how they were hinting that they're going to go a lot of 5-man front with 3?
JC went over that beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah, JC broke that down beautifully.
About that, because he's going to benefit from it.
With the 2 mics, yeah. Matter of fact, JC went on so far as to put the lineup out there, 5 across. It was awesome. Man
there
for man.
Go. Perfect. We all think it's simpatico. Okay. Yeah, because I had to step away for a little strong to get this work.
Yeah, any parting shots, fellas, before we landed for the week?
Okay, I'll kick the party off. As I drive on the 605, the southern Los Angeles street.
Uh-oh, did we lose? Fired up, JC. I think we lost Clip.
The 405 got him.
Yeah. What parting shots you got, my man?
Hey, life is short, man, and it's precious. Enjoy it. That's one thing I can say. And go Cowboys.
Hey, fellas, can you hear me?
Yes.
We got breaking news that ex-NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue has died at age 84.
Oh, wow. Paul Tagliabue. Wow. R.I.P. to former longtime NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue. Wow. The successor to the legend that was Pete Rozelle.
Georgetown. Graduated from Georgetown.
Wow. So as you see here on the Straight No Chaser Cowboys podcast, we hit you with some more breaking news as we got from our producer, the Zen Master, that longtime NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue on to the next plane at 84 years old. Rest in peace, Mr. Paul Tagliabue. Very impactful guy to the growth of the game. Very impactful. The global footprint that the NFL enjoys now has a lot to do with the contributions of one Mr. Paul Tagliabue. So he he definitely contributed to the behemoth that the NFL has become. Some controversy, as if you have a long tenure and you're around long enough, on his watch as well. But the overall growth of the sport and the brand had a lot to do with Mr. Paul Tagliabue. So he, his imprint will forever be felt, and he will be missed, I'm sure.
Yeah, he followed the great Pete Rozelle.
The great Pete Rozelle.
Pete Rozelle.
Indeed.
The great Pete Rozelle. Yeah, Tagliabue did a good job of holding it down.
He did. And I know we were getting into partner shots there, and I loved your point, JC, about, you know, life being short. You know, obviously the weight of the passing of the young Cowboy Marshawn Kneeland, again, rest in peace. And, you know, prayers up to his family and to the, you know, to the Cowboy organization. And I echo your same sentiments. Life is short. You know, enjoy the time that you have with those who are in your circle, those that you touch, those that touch you. Express your appreciation for them, and for whatever impact they have in your life. You know, small or large, whatever that impact is, man. If you cross paths, appreciate that moment, because as we've seen tragically this week, you know, the next day could be an entirely different scenario. So appreciate that time that you do interact with those that you interact with regularly, those that you come across, you know, just intermittently or what have you. But, you know, cherish your life, man, and cherish the moments that you have, because it's literally a moment-to-moment deal.
Even if the Cowboys don't make the playoffs, man, enjoy these games. Enjoy
Indeed.
NFL football, man. Enjoy these games, man. I'm telling you, it's still the greatest sport in the world. Enjoy these games. Enjoy each individual game. And it's obviously, as we said, enjoy life, man. Do what you do.
Do what you do. So, man, I think it's another good show, and appreciate those that chimed in the chat. Like you normally do, man. We love you guys popping on and with your comments, with your questions, and a lot of peace and love, man. Again, like, subscribe, tell your partners, tell your homeboys, tell your homegirls, tell your side pieces, tell your wife, tell your girlfriend, tell you, you know, man, tell even cat that you don't like, tell the cat you refuse to tip at the bar if he gave you shitty service. Tell everybody, man, about the Straight No Chasing Cowboys podcast, because it is, as our man JC so aptly stated, it's the best Cowboys podcast in the last half century. So with that, we're going to sign off for this week, and we'll be back, I believe, next week with another amazing episode as we preview the Cowboys' historical matchup with the Raiders. So until then, y'all take care and go Cowboys.
See you at the video shoot, DB.
See you, boss.